on YouTube? Well, this is Chaos the Hellhound, and this is my top 15 list of my favorite characters. 15. Mifune from Soul Eater. What makes Mifune at number 15 is his attacks with all those swords he has, which was actually pretty cool if you watch the anime, and even in the manga, which also kind of dissipated, or showed, more of the action. Anyway, I hated how he died in the manga. I liked how he was still alive in the anime, which actually was pretty awesome. I can imagine I was actually a kendo teacher, actually. Alright, here we go. 14. Even though not in the anime, Dark Dramon is probably one of the most powerful Digimon in my opinion. If you've seen his attacks, or even have the card of him, you'll understand that he's probably one of those powerhouses. What other strikes me as him as my favorite character is the look and the evolution chain he takes to get to that level. Because if you've noticed through all of his evolutions, first it's like a bomb, then it's a jet, then it's a looks like a SWAT member, then it looks like Black Ops, and then becomes a giant tank, and then finally Dark Dramon. That's what makes him my number 14. 13. Vash from Trigun. What made Vash my number 13 and not my 14th is because I believe Vash's gunslinging skills kind of outmatch Dark Dramon. If you watch the anime of Trigun, you'll understand that he is one of those funny characters that, in a way, that makes you laugh, but then at the same time, he's one of those serious characters which you have to acknowledge in some fight scenes that you can see that he's pretty kick-ass, basically. Alright, here we go. 12. Medusa from Soul Eater. Medusa is one of the witches that wants to take over the world using the power of the Kishin Asura. Why she is above Vash is her character outline, basically. She has a daughter, a son-daughter, because we don't know what Corona is. Her snake abilities that kind of even push Stein, one of the most powerful meisters in DWMA history, to his limits. What also puts her at number 12 is her change in her body. First, she starts off at 11. Minda from Twilight Princess. Even though Minda is one of those supporting characters, she gets above Medusa because of her helpfulness, if you want to call it that, in the final boss battle. She was able to help you take on Ganon with her hair turned into a fist. What also strikes her above Medusa is that she is one of those mischievous characters you kind of gotta watch out for. And the fact that at the end, if any of you play Twilight Princess, it made your jaw drop a little bit when we found out that Minda was actually the Twilight Princess, or what she actually looked like. Alright, here we go. And now, the top 10. 10. Luffy and Blackbeard. Why I say their names is because I ended up in a tie with them. Why, you ask? Well, Luffy's Gum powers are extremely powerful, able to take on most of the terrifying pirates of the sea, for example, and Arlong and Buggy, and especially Crocodile. Those were some pretty cool fights. Well, Crocodile's was the best, I believe. But why it's tie again, Blackbeard's abilities as well, that he has 2 Devil Fruit, unlike everyone else who has 1. Or so far that we know. What makes them, again, at 10 is because they both are pretty powerful if you read the manga and watch the anime. Alright, here we go. Number 9. Metal Sonic from the Sonic franchise. Metal Sonic is Sonic's recurring rival in most of the Sonic games. What made him at number 9 is his newest transformation in Sonic Heroes as Neo Metal Sonic. What even gets him higher than Luffy and Blackbeard is his newest final boss form, Metal Overlord or Metal Madness. He even took someone of Super Sonic along with his two friends to take on Metal Sonic in his new form. Alright, here we go. Number 8. Maka from Soul Eater. Why she is above Medusa is that she has a soul, I think it's called Grigori, that only happens to those with people, 1 in 50 million people, which is actually more rare than shiny Pokemon on any Pokemon franchise, which is actually kind of cool. In the manga, was a lot, in my opinion, was a lot better because we got to see Soul as a death sight thanks to his partner Maka, and we actually got to see Maka fight some serious battles like Maka vs. Arachne, and we got to see more in the manga than we could ever see in the anime. Which tops her off at number 8. Alright, here we go. Number 7. Shadow the Hedgehog. What makes Shadow the Hedgehog above Metal Sonic, who is, of course, another Sonic rival, anyway, is that his chaos control abilities. In Sonic Adventure 2 Battle, or the original Sonic Adventure 2, he was the first person to ever use chaos control, which is a now recurring ability in some of the newer characters, like Silver, of course, Neo Metal Sonic, who kind of copied that off of him. And in Sonic Adventure 2 again, Sonic has shown to be able to use that attack, due to probably using all 7 to become Super Sonic. But what makes Shadow above everyone else and gets him at number 7 is his own game friend. He has he has his own game called Shadow the Hedgehog. Why is that important? Well, we get to see Shadow's, background a little bit more than we see in Sonic Adventure 2. Anyway, like I said, Shadow the Hedgehog, number 7, why? Because he's badass like that, basically, is what I'm saying. Alright, here we go. Number 6. Darkrai from Pokemon and Muramasa from Bleach. Again, this is another tie, because each of them have kind of this similar abilities, kind of, if you look at it for a moment. Number 1. Darkrai has the ability to go into people's dreams and make him as his own, or as he sees fit. But why it's the same as Muramasa is because he's able to go into one's inner world and take control of their Zanpakuto spirit. What makes him again tied is because the fact that they're those, shunned out characters because of who they are. With Darkrai's appearance, what scares almost every man, woman, and child within a mile radius, I suppose. Why Muramasa is because his own owner disowned him, basically. Just literally disowned him, which was probably the most horrible thing that could happen to his Zanpakuto spirit. Alright, here we go.